take you here. This place is unbelievable. This is a world-famous place. Anytime you're in Gastown, you go to Gringo. This is the place where they take care of you at any hour. So if you trust me on that,
100%.
Talk to me for a second about the story of your birth is interesting because you're not actually a Canadian. You were born in England.
Yeah, born in England, yeah.
How'd you make your way over to Canada, and how did we keep you this long?
How did we keep you this long? Yeah, my parents moved me over here when I was 3. My dad emigrated over here, and I was in Ontario, Alberta, and then I've made it all the way to the West Coast now. So I've been in Vancouver for almost 25 years.
Was it, you know, now from an industry perspective, it's one of the foremost epicenters in the world, a creative hive of the talent. When were you conscious that Vancouver was becoming that kind of a hot spot for the creative world?
I think about 10 years ago, it really jumped big time. When I first got into it, out of you know, when I went to school and got into it, there wasn't that many studios here. There were some big players. Disney was here. But it wasn't like it is now. Now it's just incredibly huge. It's why they call it Hollywood North, right? This is where we're at.
Growing up, I'm assuming you were creative. Were you always compelled to draw?
Oh yeah. Yeah, I did a drawing in grade 4 that made my grandpa laugh. And it was kind of the first time I ever got a response from it, and then your brain kind of makes that connection. And then, you know, I won like a drawing contest in grade 6, and I was just a kid that could draw well. And all that meant to me was that people knew who I was, and I got a pat on the back for it. But then in grade 7, my art teacher really pushed me. Her name was Mrs. Fine, one of the most influential people in my life. And she kind of took me aside and said, like, you're actually good at this. This is a possibility. Told my parents, he's never going to be rich. True. But he's always going to be happy. Also very true. And that has always stuck with me. And I think once my parents heard that, they were, you know, it was easy for them to support that. And I've just never kind of stopped being creative from that moment.
Fair enough. Oh, here we go. That's what I'm talking about. Henry, my man. Thank you. Cheers. You're going to thank me for this. You're going to thank me. You're going to thank me for that, too.
This looks good.
This is unbelievable. Tell me about the first point in your youth when you recognized I could actually draw and make people laugh, tell these kind of stories, and get paid to do it.
1992, family went on vacation in Disney World, Florida. Yeah. They had a studio in there at the time, and you could take a tour and see everyone working on it, and that was it. It clicked for me. They were selling books at the end of the tour. I bought one, read it cover to cover, and realized this is it. This is what I want to do. So, since 1992, that's all I've had in my mind, animator.
You never wanted to be anything else?
Never.
So if Disney's still the pinnacle, was it the trip to Disney that inspired it because what you saw the animated cartoon, or was there a particular story that triggered it? Like what were your early influences? What is it about? What was the one that really captured you?
I think from an animation standpoint, it was like Beauty and the Beast, Lion King, Aladdin. I realized, because I was seeing them, and it made that connection back to the people who I saw working on it, that there was people that actually made these films and got paid to do that as their actual job. And that sounded ridiculously exciting to me. It kind of married my love of film and love of drawing together into like one amazing goal.
Art and what you do professionally is difficult. Mm-hmm. Not everybody can do it, right? No. How did you know you were good enough to do that?
I think there's a certain naivete to it. I think a big part of it is my parents, you know, supporting me. Big part of it is teachers supporting me, other artists saying, hey, that's a great drawing. You know, little moments like that. Directors in my early career saying, I want more of that. That is it. And I remember those moments. So I think it's a collective of confidence over time, right? There's a certain amount of like, yeah, I guess everybody just does that, until you realize, wait a second, I need to get better, I need to level up. And it just needs to be a constant. And the more you do that, the more confident you get. Most people don't realize this, but an animation studio is one of the most quiet working places you'll ever find. It's like a library. People are so focused and sitting down. But what it means is that's all getting pent up, and it will explode into a Nerf fight. We've done some crazy things in studios that are, you know, just people getting energy out. And it's the funnest environment I've ever worked on. Is it serious? Really? Absolutely. Have I worked crazy hours? Of course, because I love what I do. But it has been at times, you just look up and you're like, wow, it's 4 o'clock. I just sat down at 8 a.m. to start working, and it's just gone. You've had your headphones on, you've been focused, you've been working with those characters, bringing something to life. That relationship between you and the shot is very, very personal, and a really neat place to be. And then the work environment around that is at times quiet, at times very serious, but at times just like an amazing, amazing theme park.
Well, listen, man, on that note, I would like to go back into your studio, and I'd like to talk about that, and I do that. I think where you belong, man, is in that environment. I want to get to know that a little better, so
let's do it.
Let's get over there.
Perfect.
You gotta get, hey, you gotta put this on the...
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Gringos.
You don't leave gringos without having one of those.
Let's do this.
So, Colin, we're in the life drawing room. This, to me, I really wanted to take you into this environment because I know you spend a lot of time here. This feels like home base to you. But I think intuitively, for such a technologically advanced industry, right? What we're doing in 3D animation and visual effects, the world that you've operated in is so computer heavy, so the technology component of it, this is so rudimentary. How important is a space like this for the animator, and is classical animation still alive? What's the vibrancy of it?
Yeah, well, this is where it starts. Everything we see out there starts with a drawing. And in terms of classical animation, like, this is the lifeblood of it, is being able to put pencil to paper and tell a story through a drawing. And that starts by observing models, it starts by studying motion. And in this world, we get to mix this traditional classic technique that's been around for thousands of years and marry it with amazing technology to create. You know, in my mind, classical animation has never been bigger. There's so much of it out there. There's TV and mobile games, and it's all being done in those traditional ways.
It's obviously a canvas to any artist, to a painter in particular. It starts as an idea and it goes somewhere.
Yeah.
To an animator, what does this represent? And like, show me what you see when you see nothing.
Right.
Where do you begin?
Well, I see possibilities, first of all. And, you know, when students start, they tend to think very analog, very linear, you know, very flat. And you've got to train people to look past this. This, you know, is 3D to me. And it doesn't take much to get there, right? To just continue building up on things and knowing that now I'm looking past something.
Yeah.
Or, you know, let's draw within inside of this that, you know, I'm looking down into something. Like I can start to build a world right here on the page that has all the dimension of the real life. But I get to translate that into a very specific story statement.
I think there's a lot of people that think classical animation is dead, and yet we teach a whole program on it, right? You can walk out with a diploma in it here. Talk to me about that.
Well, I mean, personally, like, I started as a classical animator, and being a classical animator helped me become a better 3D animator, because I was able to look at a page, I was able to look at a flat screen and imagine motion, imagine acting, imagine characters come to life in dimension by being able to do that on a flat screen, right? And 3D is just simply a tool, and it builds upon what's really great in classical animation. Now, today, classical animation is starting to merge with these new technologies, and we're doing amazing things with it. So the possibilities that I might have been, you know, framed with 10 years ago or 15 years ago, I can now say, hey, I can bring some of my drawings into the 3D world, or I can bring the 3D world into my classical animation, and maybe there's something new that we can find there. You know, I can move through spaces a lot more interesting with a 3D camera, but I can still draw on that for sure.
Where do you begin with Mickey Mouse?
Well, it starts with a circle, but what you're not supposed to do is this. And this is something that I think people, you know, get too technical with. Like, that's a pretty darn circle, I might say. But
that's a good circle.
But, yeah, it's not too bad, right? One of the things I learned very quickly was to stop doing this kind of chicken scratch, where we're trying to, you know what I'm thinking about here? I'm thinking about the result, and I shouldn't be doing that. What I should be doing is thinking about what Mickey Mouse is doing.
Yeah.
Right? So let's say, you know, Mickey Mouse is jumping in the air. And I'm thinking about, you know, where he is. I'll draw him kind of straight on, just so.
Yeah, and you feel really fluid in the way you're doing it now. Like,
exactly. Like, see how the energy suddenly changed? His ears are too big here, but you know, I'm able to kind of construct around it and think about, okay, well, he's doing something now, right? Like, this is kind of, and just being like, you know what? If I screw it up, I'll fix it later, because it's a pencil drawing. I can, you know.
Yeah.
We kind of lay it out, right? He's got this really kind of squat body.
Does it hit you that here I am sitting here at Disney, I'm drawing Mickey Mouse?
Yeah.
That's a crazy thing.
Totally. And I think a NASCAR driver would tell you the same thing I did. As soon as you start thinking that, I'm going to crash into the wall.
Right.
I'm going to wig out. So if I just remember that I'm drawing a happy character, you know, or that I'm drawing a specific moment in time for this character, and stop thinking about, oh, I'm drawing Mickey Mouse, then it becomes a bit more of a natural progression, right?
Tell me about the hardest part of your career, or the moment or moments that maybe you doubted this was a good choice, or you might even get there.
Yeah, there's a couple. I remember the first time getting laid off, and it was a shock to all of us. It was just the project got canceled or delayed. So the reality of like, oh, I'm a contract worker was both scary and also kind of empowering, because I'm like, well, now I get to take the driver's seat. Maybe I don't want to come back here and keep drawing, you know, Mickey Mouse. Maybe I want to try something different, like a Ren and Stimpy. And that wouldn't have happened if I just kept doing that.
Is there any security in animation? You know, somebody who wants to do this professionally, is there security in it?
The security is in the fact that not many people can do this, and not many people can do it really well. So there's not that many of us. I mean, it's quite a small world. CG animation has obviously expanded that, so there's more of us, but again, that doesn't necessarily mean everyone's amazing at it. So your currency lies in your skill, but then the secondary, and maybe the more important one, starts to lay in the network that you make. So I've been doing this for 20 years now, and I'm really proud of the fact that I really haven't had to show my demo reel or resume, because I've made relationships with people. I've been a really great professional. Sure. I may not be the best drawer or the best painter or whatever, but building those relationships with people is my currency now, and that's my job security, is knowing that if you ask me to do a job, I'm going to deliver. I'm going to deliver on time and on budget, but I'm also going to be really easy to work with, and I'm going to bring something extra. You know, I'm going to build on what you've already maybe developed, and that's where the security comes from.
Why Vancouver Film School? What is it about? Is this just home to you? Is there something unique about the program here?
You know, being in the studio, working with younger artists as I got older, I realized very quickly, like, I'm basically teaching every day. And the great thing about being here is we get to do it every single day at a high energy level. And I get it back too, because at the end of the day, they're like, hey, we made something, you know, we did it. And every day at the school here, we're working on like 250 animated projects every single day. I come from a world where I'm drawing and working with Thomas the Tank Engine every day for 5 years, and there's a time where you have to overcome those hurdles.
Sure. Of
just getting through that day of like, oh, there's another train, which is great because you know you're entertaining people. But here we get to really create from a deep level and a personal level. People really, you know, find their voices. They find their place in the world, in this industry. And you know, some people it's life changing. Some people it's just life affirming. And being in that space where that happens it sounds like kind of BS, but it's magical.
Colin, I could do this all day with you, and I want to be great with your time. Will you finish this drawing of Mickey Mouse? Would you sign it for me?
Sure.
I'd love to hang it in my living room. I really appreciate your time and hanging out and talking about this. I hope lunch was good.
Lunch was amazing. The margarita was especially good.
Keep in mind, you haven't even seen them at 2 a.m. That's when it gets really good.
I'll have to hang out there again.
Thanks very much for doing this. I really appreciate it, my man.
Thank you.
Right on.